Check us out to hear the latest on life in the volunteer state. Yvonnca and her guests discuss everything from life, love, and business with a Tennessee flair.
It's a Tennessee thing.
Always relatable, always relevant, and always a good time. This is Talking Tennessee, and now your host, Yvonnca.
This episode is brought to you by Turning Knox Rental, your go-to for event rental services. We have selfie machines, 360 photo machines, and food servicing machines that you can rent out to give your parties the best experience possible. Get the TKR experience with Turning Knox Rental. You can find us at www.turningknoxrental.com.
Welcome back to Talking Tennessee with Yvonnca. I am your host, and today I am here with a dear friend of mine, Vice Chancellor Frank Quevas of Student Life at the University of Tennessee. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Most definitely. Viewers, let me just say, from the moment that I met this person, he always has greeted me with a smile. He's always been that person that I can ask any question on the campus, and if he didn't know it, he would tell me where I could go to get the answer. And I just want to thank you for just being the man you are and just loving people.
Well, you're welcome. I like to connect people to other folks and try to help them out.
Well, the biggest thing that sticks out to me about you is just, for one, you always have a smile on your face, and you always greet people with kindness. It doesn't matter what level of profession they're in, if it's a student or whoever, you treat everybody the same. And so that's what sticks out to me. So I want everybody to know my friend Frank Quevas. So let's get into it. Who is Frank Quevas?
I'm a husband and a father, first and foremost.
Okay.
Family is very important to me. So titles come and go,
Yes.
but the most important ones are those two for me.
Yes.
I mean, spending time with my family and being with the people I love, and just, that's really what drives me.
Okay. Tell us about your family.
Absolutely. I have my wife, who also teaches at UTK, and I know you've had the pleasure of meeting her.
Beautiful.
She's fabulous. We've been married 26 years, and we have two adult children that are off and have gone and are doing great things. And one lives in Manhattan, and one in Florida, who's getting ready to finish his master's. And
Okay.
you know, I always felt that you do your job as a parent. You launch them.
Yes.
You give them the tools that they need to make choices. They begin adulting, and you help them along the way, and you can watch them succeed and thrive.
Well, I'll tell you, you have a beautiful family, and his wife, Kathy, she's another one. From the day I met her, she has always been just so sweet, so supportive of you, and you're supportive of her.
Absolutely.
And that really, we talked about this a few episodes back about marrying someone, first of all, that God puts in your life, and then evolving together and being equally yoked. You and Kathy are the great example for that, because it can be her moment, you're her biggest cheerleader. It can be your moment, she is your biggest cheerleader. And you don't see that all the time. So when you do see it, it's just like, oh wow. And just, she loves to see you thrive.
And I love to see her thrive.
Yes.
We cannot achieve great things without support along the way.
Yes.
Somebody's going to be helping you out. And I'm so proud of her. We became empty nesters, and she went back to graduate school and finished her PhD, and it was just fantastic. My son and daughter all said, "You can do this, Mom. You got it."
And the biggest thing, like last year, she got her doctorate last year, and you were the one that picked up the phone and said, "I want to celebrate my wife. Yvonnca, how can we do this? I need to make sure that my wife has her day." And you made sure of that. And every detail, there was nothing left on the table. You wanted it to be her day. And so, let me ask you, where did your leadership come from? Did it start at a young age?
I would say yes. You know, I'm one of five, so I'm the fourth of five. And if you come from a large family, at a certain point you have to start fending for yourself. Kind of like if you want some attention, you gotta have to sort of figure your way out and find it. And at a very young age, I felt like I can chart my own path.
Yes.
I can at least chart my own path. I have great family support, and I always try to do something that says, you know what, I can achieve this, I can do this. And I think what I learned is I've become more self-confident. I wasn't very self-confident as a child.
Speak on it.
And I think that that's something that I had to learn.
Okay.
And in terms of being more self-confident, putting yourself out there and saying, you can achieve this, and you can do this. You could go on to college.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to finish high school.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, by the way, you're going to go to school 7 hours away from your hometown.
7 hours. So, viewers, let me tell you this. Frank Quevas is the first generation college graduate in his family. Let's think about that. What does that mean to you to be the first generation?
Well, yeah, it means a lot. I grew up in a family, we were migrant farm workers. So my dad had about an eighth and ninth grade education. My mother had not finished her GED. She eventually went back and got her GED. So for me, I grew up, we would go all up and down the east coast of the United States, and we would harvest crops in different places. In fact, my very first time in Tennessee was in Coffee County. Coffee County. It was in a little town, unincorporated community of Hillsborough. So I knew Coffee County before Bonnaroo was even a thing.
Okay.
So and we would be there for about 4 or 5 weeks harvesting potatoes.
Okay.
And I knew as a young age, it's like, there's going to be something better.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with good work, and that was good work. I mean, honest work.
But you wanted something
But
better.
I was like, you know what? I can start charting my own pathway, and I felt like education is the way to do it.
Yes.
Education is the great equalizer of opening up pathways for anyone, and that's why I'm a
Say
firm
that
believer.
one more time.
Education is a great equalizer, and it creates so many pathways.
So many pathways. And you know, in this world that we live in, you know, my grandfather was the very first black principal in Harriman, Tennessee. And from my childhood, my grandfather screamed education, okay? Was that all through my family? A lot of my family was educators, but then there was a part of my family that did not see the value in getting a college degree. And so when you sit and say that, okay, my family were making great, you know, ways to feed us, but you wanted it better. You wanted a higher lifestyle for yourself, you know, and charting your way. That I love that, because it is charting your way. You know, you see how you were raised and you decide, okay, that doesn't mean that you're looking down on that. You're just saying, I want more. And I can understand that, because coming from Harriman, Tennessee, it was the same way. You know, I'm first generation entrepreneur, you know, and so I didn't have a blueprint.
You're having to carve your own path.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
You didn't have a blueprint on what it would be like going to college. Now let's talk about during your high school years. What was it like being in high school, trying to figure out about college? It sounds like that you didn't have a lot of money growing up. So what was that like in high school?
You know, first of all, I was just thinking, can you do this, right?
Okay.
And, you know, I worked a lot when I was in high school. I was involved in activities. I was in a band. I was one of those little, you know, I didn't do.
You was a band student.
I was a band student. I didn't.
Okay.
I played trombone. We had a little jazz band, and we had a little that kind of thing. But I always felt like college is a possibility, and I was very fortunate enough to be able to have some counselors that were like, you should think about this, and you can put your mind to it, you can achieve it. Because I was a good student.
Was your parents for it? Or because I mean, a lot of times back then, you know, some parents, because they didn't achieve that, not that they want to hold their kids back, but it's something they don't know.
My parents gave me a lot of flexibility. You know, like I said, I'm 4 or 5. So the time you get to it, I always felt like, you know what, we're doing all right. He's going to be okay.
Yes.
But no, in all honesty, my mother always encouraged.
Okay.
And my dad, in a quiet way.
Yes.
And my mother actually later on was managing a Head Start program. So she valued education
Okay.
at an early age, and actually ran a bilingual Head Start program.
Really?
And it was the importance of understanding the community you're in, supporting the community, and there was a feeling of education is important. You need, I talked about, you can have all kinds of titles and all kinds of things, but at the end of the day, no one can take away the education you've earned.
My grandfather used to say, he said, the key to success, you have to be educated on whatever you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be educated, and you have to know that if you want to get in rooms, if you want to, excel, you want to achieve things, you have to have those tools. And education is the key.
Absolutely.
So speak on that.
So that to me early on. So then I started thinking about, okay, I can do this. I can probably do this. And what do I need to do to position myself so that I can see college as a possibility?
Okay.
Now, because of not knowing how that pathway works, I was slow. I was slow to the game. I'm like trying to figure out, all right, there's a community college down there right now. It was a great community college, and I said I could go there. And so then I started thinking, what if I go a little bit further and start thinking maybe a couple hours away? My older sister, she had gone to start at the community college and then went on about 3.5 hours away. And even when she left about 3.5 hours earlier, it was like, do we really want her to go 3.5
that far?
That far.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking at what schools are in close vicinity within a driving distance. And the reason I chose where I ended up going is because I had familiarity with the city. I knew the community.
Okay.
I had been there.
Mm-hmm.
And when we would go farm right outside, we stayed in an apartment complex that overlooked the stadium.
Okay.
And that's where we stayed, because we would farm out and not too far, about 15 miles outside the city. And I said, well, I kind of know this campus, so
maybe I'll try there.
Maybe I'll try there. And I applied and fortunately got in. Now, okay, that's good. But then I had to figure out, okay, what are all those other steps you need to do to actually enroll?
Yeah, right.
So that's where I had to really find my way. Was fortunate enough to talk to people that kind of connected me to other people and said, do this, you need to do this. My counselor said, my high school counselor said, talk to these folks here, make sure you visit these folks there, and to get yourself there.
So you allowed, okay, viewers, he said people connected him to people that could help him.
Mm-hmm.
Help him to achieve what his goal was. He wasn't at his goal, but he needed people in his life to help him to know what he didn't know.
And that's critical. It's something that I talk about now with students, and that when you enter this place at the University of Tennessee,
mm-hmm.
you may be familiar with it because you have gone to a football game.
Right.
Your grandparents may have brought you to a game, your parents may have brought you to a game, or you've seen it on television. But familiarity does not always equate to comfort.
That's true.
And so it's about helping create that sense of community for people. And that's why I think it's important for us to try to help our students find their place in community in a campus the size as we are.
Okay, so let's go back just a little bit. What led you to the University of Tennessee?
So there's an interesting story.
Okay.
I went off to college, got my undergraduate degree, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do after that. Actually, I had this grand plan that I'm going to go to law school.
Okay.
And I tell the story to students all the time, and people ask, so if I had executed that plan the way I was thinking when I was a 17, 18-year-old, I'd probably be practicing law today. I don't have no regrets.
Okay.
But when I was...
He said no regrets.
No regrets. When I was once my first year, people, you often hear the freshman 15.
Yes.
I didn't have the freshman 15. If anything, I lost weight.
Yes.
And part of that is because I struggled in finding my community.
Okay.
And but I decided you could do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like for me, it may not always be for everyone, but for me, if I turned around and went home, I failed.
Sure.
Now,
and you'll never know if you could have done it if you would have went back home.
No, I would have gone home, gone to community college and all that, but I felt like, you can push yourself.
Okay.
So it was an experience that I said, all right, put yourself out there. Do things that you know can. So I started thinking, all right, let me start getting connected. And people helped me get connected. So I lived in a residence hall campus. Back then, you had one phone. You
Yes.
remember not the cell phones.
Yes.
Everybody had one little phone, hall phones. So there was a woman who worked in the building I was in, Miss Eddie Joyce Rice, and I always remember her. And
shout out to her. She's still living.
She has passed away so many years. But thankful for her because here's what she did. She saw me probably calling quite a bit. The phone was downstairs in the main lobby, and she had direct eyesight. She would work the desk. She knew everybody come and go and had that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Are you okay? Just ask me a question. Are you okay?" And started from there. I just started talking, and then she see me when I go to class, see me come back. How are you doing today? What's going on? And then she actually started connecting me to the people in the building. Next thing you know, I'm working in the building. I'm working the front desk. So you start building communities, have a sense of purpose, and those kinds of things. And then
she helped you find the village.
She did. You start making connection.
And you built your village.
And started building there. So the point I'm trying to make is, once I started doing that, started meeting and expanding that network, that by the time I got to my junior year, I started realizing, you mean I can make a living working in a college environment, supporting students?
Mm-hmm.
This might be what I'd like to do.
Okay.
And I had some very good mentors who had helped me along the way, and they had said, we have a graduate program, and we can even pay for your graduate school. There's some graduate assistantships, that kind of thing. You just need that.
He must have really good grades, y'all.
So connect you with the right folks and apply and do those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But I still wasn't sure. I thought, I know what I need to do is I want to finish my degree in 4 years. I want to test, maybe I'll go work.
Where was your confidence level then?
Had
it grown? Or was you still teeter-tottering?
It had grown from where I was as a first year student.
It just wasn't where...
It wasn't where at the point where I was like, I'm good to go. I can do this.
And the reason why I ask that is because I think a lot of young people think that if their confidence level is not where they see other people's confidence level is, they think they're less than.
Yeah.
Confidence, honestly, is something you have to build every day.
That's right.
And we're going to talk about it, but go ahead.
So yeah, at that point I decided, I'm gonna see if I want to go work, do some work first, and then come back and go to school later. Bottom line is, I opted to go to graduate school. Received the graduate assistantship, went to the program for 2 years, did that. So I graduated, got my master's. Then I started thinking, where do I want to work? I knew that I wanted to work at a large public university. So the University of Tennessee was on my list.
Okay.
And I interviewed here, this was in the early 90s, so I interviewed here, came to campus, had an interview. I was fresh out of grad school. And back then, people advertised anticipated openings.
Okay.
Anticipated. Because they had people that were also looking to move on, that kind of thing.
Yes.
So I got here, had a great time, and walked around campus. It looks so much different today than it did back then.
It really does. David said the same thing. David was like, this looks like a totally different place.
And so anyway, it got here, and towards the end of my interview, I was here for about a day. I learned that it was an anticipated opening. And I said, okay, I've got a couple of other interviews scheduled at different universities. So I moved on and went to the next school and interviewed there. And that's where I accepted my first job at the Ohio State University.
Right.
And in any case, as luck would have it, 2 or 3 days later, Tennessee called and said, we have an opening. But I already had committed
to Ohio State.
So I did not want to do that. They were it's like, you know, I had a good experience there at my time interviewing. I made a commitment to them.
How long was you at Ohio State?
Well, I was there for about 2.5 years, because here's what I learned. People from Florida don't move to Ohio. People from Ohio move to Florida. It's
okay.
too cold.
Okay. Yes,
So,
exactly.
So I was looking to move and go back. So fast forward to all that. Went back was recruited back to Florida State University, where I did my undergrad and graduate work. I worked there for a few years. And I wasn't ready to come back, but I was ready to be somewhere a lot warmer. So I went with the mindset as, I'll come back for 3 to 5 years. That turned into 15 years. Met Kathy, we got married, had children.
Yes.
And then eventually pursued my doctorate, got that done. And then I saw an opportunity at the University of Tennessee in 2010.
Yes, 2010.
So that's when I said, wow, we're going to give this another shot.
A full circle.
A full circle. So I came, interviewed, and I asked, is this anticipated or open? Let's clarify right now.
He's like, let me find out.
Let me get my expectations set. Yeah, it was open, and I came full circle and was hired here at the University of Tennessee, and I've been here since 2010.
So let me say this. I met a couple. Do you remember your friends that came in for our Ohio State game? And we were doing an event at the tailgate, an alumni.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember they came?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget the wife she was like, he's such a great guy, Kathy, And so I'm like, okay, because I did not know that you had been at Ohio State until that game. And they were telling me that. And so we're so glad that you came to the University of Tennessee.
I'm glad to be here.
But I just want to tell you that even the people in Ohio State still love him. So let's talk about University of Tennessee. So you got here. What was that like, coming on this campus and just getting started?
You know, it was good. For me, it was full circle, because I felt like there was great opportunities here. I felt like this is a great institution. I really did, and still do. It's like, there's some opportunities here. When I came in here, I was hired as the director of housing.
I was just about to ask you, what was your title there?
As executive director of housing.
Okay.
And I felt like there were so many possibilities here, because I do believe that where people live we go back to meeting basic needs, giving people a place to live where they feel comfortable, they're safe, there's a place of community. That's where you start forming communities. And
Correct.
So I was like, let's focus on, we can do some really good things with the people that are here. We can continue to hire and bring great people here.
This sounds like he's a servant leader.
So I am. So we started working on that, and I've been very blessed and fortunate that I've had a couple different positions here, that in my time here have led me to where I am today.
So tell me this: how long have you been Vice Chancellor?
I've been Vice Chancellor 5.5 years. I stepped into this role in an interim capacity in January of 2020, and then COVID hit.
Really? What was that like?
Well,
what was COVID like?
Well, it was very interesting, because nobody knew what was going to happen.
That we were going to be stuck in the house.
That we were going to be stuck in that. Right, that we were going to have to be remote, we were going to be, wearing masks and doing all kinds of things. But I do think that I appreciate the leader we have, my boss, the chancellor, and all of us just kind of thinking about, at the end of the day, we're going to take care of the people that we're here to serve, and that's our students.
Yes.
And in doing that, when we're taking care of the students, we have to apply the same principles to our faculty and staff.
Yes.
So we really started thinking about, we can lead the way. We can lead the way and start doing some things to still have people connected to this university, even though they may not be here at the moment. And I really believe that that's what has helped set us in the trajectory moving forward since then, where people are like, there's something happening in Tennessee. And the way they responded and did these things and cared for people, cared for their faculty, cared for their staff, cared for their students, they're going to talk to their friends. And their friends are going to say,
we're going to University of Tennessee.
And yeah, we didn't know what shoe was going to drop the next day when you're going through COVID and all those things. But at the end of the day, we were making.
I think it was March 16th.
Yeah, it was March of 2016.
Yes.
2020, excuse me.
Yeah.
Where we were thinking, I remember calling my daughter and saying, she was thinking we were going to go out there, she was going to go on a trip. And I said, I don't think this trip's going to happen. Because I'm thinking, I think the world's about to change.
Yes.
I don't know why I had to say the world's about to change.
You didn't know exactly how, but you knew something was not right.
And then when I started seeing, wow, they canceled the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
They canceled the NBA games.
Do you remember the first few weeks of COVID? I think we all were in denial. I think
so.
Because I remember Jaden, my youngest son, was out of school for like 2-3 weeks. And that's when it hit me. It took about 2 or 3 weeks. And I was like, our kids have been out of school for weeks. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? And so I think a lot of parents' minds started churning then, because that first couple weeks it was like a long snow time. Thinking of, we've been out of school.
It was snow day. Everything will be back in a few days.
Yes, and I think everybody thought that way. And then after 2 to 3 weeks, then it was like, okay, and when, I'll never forget, remember when the toilet paper and the paper towels, that nobody could find it. And it was a blessing. I'm going to say this. It was a blessing that before that, maybe 6 months before, remember Amazon announced of having subscriptions. So I had put mine on subscription. And so because mine was on subscription at that time, I was guaranteed to have toilet paper and paper towels. And all I could think about, Frank, was, oh my gosh, what it would be like with not having that. And I'm like, oh my, but then I started thinking about food. Then I started thinking about all the different things that we take for granted that now you really want, but you can't have. And then even if you find it, there is a limit of what you can buy.
That's correct.
That was really jarring to a lot of people. But I can't imagine on the campus in 2020 what it was like going into a new position, trying to find your way in that new position, find the confidence that you can lead these students to down the right path. At the same time, your own family. Can you speak on that?
It was hard. There was hard days where you're trying to maneuver and balance that and trying to be supportive to your own family, but at the same time, putting in the hours to make sure that the greater students that we're serving on our campus, that their needs are met, because they have some questions.
And they're far away from home.
Everybody was having that level of anxiety. Everyone was trying to figure out, am I going to go back? Will I get support? Am I going to lose connection? And I had a daughter who had just started college, so she was in the same boat. And I said, look, at the end of the day, for us, it's like, and that's why I appreciate the approach, is that we approach it that we're going to be flexible with what we do. We're going to show compassion, and we're going to make sure that we lay a good foundation for our students so that they'll know we care about you. We want you back.
Yeah. So
and that really came from our leadership from the very top.
Yes. Tell me this. Tell my viewers, what is student life? What is your division?
Okay, that's a good question. Our division, we're focused with life outside of the classroom.
Life outside
of the classroom. A student spends roughly 85% of their time outside of the classroom. They enroll in 15 hours or 16 hours, what have you, but 85% of their time is spent outside the classroom. So we focus on their experiences outside the classroom.
Okay.
Student housing, student recreation, student health center, student counseling center, campus activities, programs, Greek life, all those elements. And our team is really focused on supporting our students in that arena.
And helping them to thrive.
Helping them to thrive. We talk about creating spaces and experiences for students to learn, to lead, to serve. Those are our 3 tenets. Learn, lead, and serve. Creating those experiences for our students. We're going to give you the tools so that you can thrive. Because if you thrive, we're all thriving. This university is thriving.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, the reward is your graduation. And that's what we want to see.
Yes. Let me say this. So I've been doing business with the University of Tennessee a little bit over 2 years, okay? And I was amazed. I was one of those people. I didn't go to University of Tennessee. My husband did. His family, all of them are alumni. But I'll never forget when I first came up on campus. I came to games, but I knew nothing about student life. What it was like to be on this campus, you know, no matter if you are a full ride, half ride, whatever, what was the life like? And the biggest thing that stuck out to me was how much y'all do for the students. And I want to really talk about that because student life, like he said, outside of the classroom, I look around and for one, y'all are our company, but y'all have so many small businesses. And I really want people to understand that what they do, they help small businesses, they build up our economy, they teach those students to be servant leaders, and they want them to win. And so how I have seen it through my eyes is there's always something to do on campus. Every day. You know, there's always a place, food somewhere.
Yeah, we just celebrated our awards ceremony this morning.
Okay.
So, and one of the things I've shared is that over the last year, fall, spring, over 22,000 students, we were able to touch in a way that they felt engaged, that they felt supported. And I know
22,000.
That came to different events. Some of the events you helped us with. So it wasn't just going to a meeting, but it's actually going to an activity that means more than I'm just here. Where they're learning to...
And I'm just existing.
Learn to connect with other people, to find their community, to find their place, sense of place. And if we do those small things, all the research in the world tells us the more you can do that, it makes a big place feel smaller. And they're going to be more successful. I had a parent tell me not too long ago that the student, they have 2 children. One's at a smaller liberal arts school and one's here.
Okay.
He said, my student here at the University of Tennessee is getting a better experience than the smaller school that they are because they feel a little bit more connected and engaged here than that's way. So to me, that's a testament to the work that our team does about the investment we're pouring into our students because their success is our success. We want to see them thrive.
Most definitely.
And that's what we try to do. I'm successful because I have people who invested in me to have an experience. So when I step in, I want to make sure we are doing the same level of investment for our students.
David said this to me years ago, and this is what we live by. Succeeding and being successful. Your servant leading in your community is all about paying the rent back on earth. If you're still living and breathing, servant leading is your way to pay back what someone did for you.
Absolutely.
Because it's great to see successful people, but it took people to help them to get there. I don't care who you are. I'll tell you, your president, Randy Boyd, was on the podcast and his drops today. And one of the things he talked about was that there were people that helped him. Sure. You're talking about people helped you. You had mentors. You had people that said, hey, okay, you might want to try this. You might want to apply for this. That type of thing. Student life is just it's a stepping stone for those kids to turn out to be the successful people that they're made to be.
And we see our students at their best and at their worst.
Yes.
And we want to be there along the way when they're struggling. We want to help them connect them to the resources they need so they can get the support that they need. We've been in students when they're in the hospital and need support.
Oh.
We've been with students or been with their families when we've had to tell them that unfortunately some poor decisions were made.
Right.
But at the end of the day,
you're there when you have to deliver.
Right. We're going to be there for students and trying to meet their particular needs. The areas that we work in is really about creating those opportunities and connecting those students more than it's not just activity, it's about helping them along the way so
and
they can be successful. And
give them a space that they can feel seen.
Yeah. We have some, we have a full-blown Center for Basic Needs, which is helping students who may have, at some point in time, may be experiencing food insecurity. No questions asked.
Okay.
We have pantry, come get some food.
Yes.
And we have professional clothing there.
Please speak on it.
And we have...
and what he's saying, I've got to witness this.
And the pop-up barbershop, which is one of my favorites.
That was the next thing. I want y'all to know this, okay? I was blown away. I was setting up one day in the ballroom. I came out across from the ballroom, and there was a full-blown barbershop going on. And I walked in, and I said, what is this? And the guys were like, they're like, it's a barbershop. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you can get your beard trim, your haircut, all these different things. And please speak on that. What made y'all do that?
Our staff saw a need.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that all of us have been college. If you've been to college, you know that you're going to be on a limited budget regardless of what.
Most definitely.
And $25 for a haircut is what the average price.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going to be a stretch for a college student.
Yes.
So we're lucky to be able to form a partnership with local partners.
Yes.
Who are training others
mm-hmm.
and say, come on over. We'll offer this service. It's a great training tool for those apprentices.
Mm-hmm.
But
I was just about to say, and if somebody wanted to go into that field, that's the perfect thing. You're getting a haircut, you can ask questions to the barbers, and the stylists, all those different people.
So
it's I was blown away.
So it's been great, very well received, and we do a couple of those throughout the year where we do that. We do a pop-up. It's a pop-up. It's truly that. We just never, our team looks at it and said, we will do one right before commencement because we want to make sure everybody's looking their sharpest for commencement.
Yes.
So they planned it, worked it, and it is always packed. We draw students.
Always. And I'll tell you this, even down to the different events, the themes that y'all come up with, it's very well thought out on what is the students attracted to help. They come up with themes for different events to make sure that it covers everybody, that type of thing. But what stuck out to me about your events is that the students come in, you'll see they will all come together and then they'll eat together. They'll have conversation. They will take photos together. They'll do different things that has nothing to do with the classroom. They know they have to do their work, but this is kind of like your celebration, your daily celebration, because you can come in a room in the ballroom or come out to student
in the courtyard plaza.
The courtyard, yes. Thank you. The courtyard plaza, and you can see people coming together, engaging, and that's the biggest thing that I love about University of Tennessee. And it's nothing against any other college, but to me, as a vendor, as a partner to the University of Tennessee, I wanted to see, the back end. I wanted to see, they say all this in the media. Do they really do it? Y'all do even more.
Well, we do.
You do more than what's in the media. I can say that.
We try, we talk about delivering an unparalleled student experience.
Yes.
And we want to deliver on that promise to our students. That when you come to the University of Tennessee, you're going to get an experience unlike any other place. A lot of schools are going to do activities and events. What I say is we're going to do it at scale.
Exactly.
And we're going to do it in a way that
excellence.
That are driving a level of engagement that we want our students to feel like this is a place that I feel very strongly and associated with, that I made the right choice.
And when these students come, when they say you live on Rocky Top, you come on Rocky Top, and everywhere you go, I love that, because everywhere you go, you see UT. And I love that because the students find their place, they find their space, they find their friends, and they find love on the campus at University of Tennessee. And so you have led so many different major projects, and I want to talk about some of them. Tell me about some of the projects that you have led and what made you, I know you have a team, I know this, but what has driven you to have those type of projects?
Well, I've been very fortunate to have the support as we look at capital projects on our campus, right? I joke with people, I said the crane could also be our other mascot because we'll never replace Smokey. But a growing campus requires the facilities and the environments for students to thrive and be successful. So one of the things I noticed when I got here 15 and a half years ago is that we need to make sure we modernize our residential facilities.
Yes.
Because we haven't done anything. For good or bad, we just haven't been able to kind of focus our attention on that. So we started out that process. Because again, people need to feel good about where they live to be successful. Foundationally, when you look at basic needs.
Because that's their home for four plus years,
when
whatever.
We say home sweet home, we want it to be their
home sweet home.
So creating that, was very fortunate to be involved in the ground levels. We're looking at building new housing and doing all those things. And then the union presented a great opportunity is how to create a central hub on campus where people can come to. That's where I see we have a lot of our events. That's where we see it's making that the hub of activity for people to come and hang out and have food and study and just come in community.
Yes.
And we were able to really be very fortunate about how we create that space. But then as offshoots to all those, looking and thinking about what do our students need to be successful? I'm around students all the time. I ask them, I hear feedback from them directly because, I want to hear. I'm their advocate.
Yes.
So, and I can help think about what we can do to make their experience better. And that's when we start thinking about. Okay, maybe campus recreation reports to us. So I know that they're using the rec center quite a bit, so we need additional space for that. And we're going to add more space there.
Right.
Or we students have mental health needs, so let's make sure we have the capacity to build and meet those particular mental health needs. Or even as our basic needs centers continue to grow, making sure we're meeting those particular needs on that. I don't know if I told you about this, but we do a bus service called East Tennessee to West Tennessee.
Okay.
It's run out of our Basic Needs Center for Basic Needs, and it's a low-cost chartered bus service for students who need to get home for the holidays. Need to get home at Thanksgiving, at the end of the term, up for the holidays, or perhaps during spring break. Because we know some families can't take the time off to come, and we have so many students in Middle Tennessee, West Tennessee. So
y'all charter a bus.
So we're basically for very low cost round trip. We put 200 students on the bus, give them some snacks. They get on the bus, we stop outside of Nashville, in Jackson, and then end up in Memphis. And then about a couple weeks later, it does a reverse route.
Really?
Because when we think about...
And you get the students home to their families.
And we get them home to their families.
And the holiday.
And then we get them back. But it's also what I think is no better example of fulfilling our land grant mission, of creating access for students and saying, we care about you, but we also want you to be, when it's time, we want you to be able to get home, because some students may not be able to get home.
Yes.
Or their families can't get here.
Can't get here, can't get off from work. And a lot of families can't afford it.
Right. So this is a very low cost service.
How long have y'all been doing that?
We started about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
It had a program that we had started years earlier, and interest had waned, but since COVID, it has really taken off. And we had about 200 students last.
And I bet you they enjoy it.
Plus, they enjoy it.
It's a bus trip.
It's a bus trip. They got Wi-Fi. They get and we've had some great partnerships. We give them breakfast snacks and then snacks for a little baggie of snacks to take for the road, and they're good.
Oh, that sounds like leadership Knoxville. How you remember when we traveled to Nashville? Remember the big old box of snacks? That's what it reminds me of.
It's exactly. Just like
Yeah.
So, but anyway, again, for me, it's how do we create those things that will make a student understand that there are people at this institution who care about you, who support you, and who want to help you navigate the university to be successful.
So if someone asked, okay, if you could sum up student life under your direction and your leadership, how would you answer that? If somebody said, sum up what student life is and what is it to you?
To me, it's about delivering an unparalleled experience.
Okay.
And making sure we meet that promise. Giving every student the opportunity to learn, lead, serve. That's going to look different for every student. You don't need to be a positional leader to have a title, because you can lead through influence without having a title.
Let's talk about lead. When you're trying to find your way, you really don't know how to be a leader. If you could tell the younger version of you, if you could, what all the things that you see now that you've been through, what could you tell your younger self that wasn't confident? And the reason why I'm asking you that, because there are students on University of Tennessee's campus that are you. And they have to find their way. How would you say you start being a leader?
I would say is the first thing is that don't ever afraid to be the author of a new chapter. Because I think for me, even in high school, I limited myself a little bit about, no, you can't do this. Are you sure? And just having self-doubt. But it took a moment where it was in college where, and I shared earlier, I said, where I was this close, really close to leaving. And just
giving up.
And saying, this is going to be something else. And started thinking about, you can do this. You just might need to start stepping out of your little comfort zone and saying, let me just go ahead and talk to the guys down in the hall who live on your floor and get to know them a little bit better. Let me just go ahead and go to this event they're having downstairs, and slowly as
that's how you build.
That's starting to build. So for me, and then as you're starting to build and you're making those connections and building a sense of community, you start to grow a little bit more confident. And then
there you go.
And then building that confidence is, well, why can't I run for this office? Or why can't I do that? What's to say the thing that's going to prevent me from doing that? Other than
Remember,
myself.
he was the first generation college, graduating from college, doctorate. I'll say for me, okay, being first generation entrepreneur, I didn't have that blueprint. You didn't have that blueprint. And there is self-doubt when you start.
Absolutely.
Okay, there is self-doubt because my family truly said, why are you not following this path? But I didn't know what I was going to be, but I knew God had something different for me.
Absolutely.
And so what I want to talk about is, okay, so when you went on your path and you decided, okay, I'm going to go to college, was there ever times that you felt like, I know you said that you felt like quitting, but was there ever time that you thought back to, okay, so nobody in my family's done this, so if I quit, it's not going to matter? True,
and there was a time where I started.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because
and the reason I'm saying that, because there's some students out there that have they are first generation, and they are and for whatever reason, parents sometimes can discourage you because they didn't accomplish it. Please
absolutely.
Speak on that.
Well, I have I have an older brother and a younger brother.
Okay.
And, you know, they charted a different path. Neither one went to college, but they finished high school.
Okay.
But they're like, we're not going to go, this is not for us. That's fine. The college is for everyone. But they were doing other things, and they're like, you know what? I'm working to help the family, doing these things. So there was a little bit for me of guilt, like,
yes,
I need to be doing that, not what I'm doing. Or is it why me and not? And so I had to work through that and be okay,
and not feel guilty,
and not have that guilt. But at the same time, I knew that I was okay because where I went to school, I still saw, you know, I went to school and in the summers and what have you, and then go back home. Just reconciling that in a way, I am giving back to my family.
You are.
Because I've charted a different pathway, but I'm giving back in a different way and setting
and it doesn't
example.
have to look the same.
And it's not going to look the same. And I started thinking, you can be okay with this.
So for every student out there, just because your family members may not understand, may not see the path that God has you on, doesn't mean it's wrong. I'm gonna give you a good example. You know, I'm a real estate agent, and I had a client years back that we were about to close on her house. We were a week from closing. We were waiting for the seller to get their loan and everything. We were done. Her loan was done,
ready
everything.
to go, right?
Her grandmother called her, and she goes, you've got a 19-year-old, you got a 17-year-old. Your kid's about grown. Why would you want to buy a house? So she calls me, and she says, you know, I look up to my grandmother. My grandmother is everything to me. My grandmother told me, you know, this. And I said, can I ask a question? I said, no disrespect to your grandmother. She goes, yes. I said, does your grandmother own a house? She said, no. I said, has your grandmother ever owned a house? She said, no. I said, your grandmother can't fathom what you're about to do. Literally, 3 months, she bought the house. 3 months later, Frank, she literally got pregnant with twins. Think about if she would have listened to her grandmother. God was preparing her for what was going to hold in the future.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so I'm bringing that up because with both of us being first generation, you know, there is self-doubt of, okay, well, if nobody else did it, why are we doing it? Or why are we putting ourselves in an uncomfortable place because we're not confident enough to know it's okay. We're trying to find our way, but just think back to the younger of you. If you would have stayed home, you would not be here.
It would not be here. It would have been a different journey, and
you wouldn't be teaching students how to thrive and be all they can be. And the next thing we're going to talk about is you being a servant leader.
Okay.
So he's not just a vice chancellor. He is a big servant leader, and he leads in his community. He lends his name. He lends his talents. He labors. I have seen him get his hands dirty for the betterment of his community. What made you want to become a servant leader and to serve others outside of your job?
Well, you know, for me, growing up how I grew up, it's like work needed to be done. You're going to roll up your sleeves and get the work done. So I always say no job is too small for me.
It's true.
And I do believe that we have to lead by example.
I agree.
And for me, it's like, okay, well, there's work to be done. Let's roll up our sleeves and get some work done. And a lot of it is I saw just from my own experience. I saw my parents working hard. I saw all my siblings, all of us. And for me, it's always been like, okay, what's the next thing that needs to be done?
And you at a young age were taught how to get your hands dirty.
Oh,
you know, and nothing against money, but I'll tell you this, because we need to donate as well. I always tell people, you know, organizations need money to survive. But another thing they need is people to roll up their sleeve, get their hands dirty for the betterment of their community, to be able to offer your time and just your service. I mean, I think a lot of times confidence comes in those forms, because when you offer your time, your talents, and you serve, I think you become more confident in yourself. Absolutely. When you're helping others. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think that there's something about, regardless of your circumstance, I think there's an opportunity. If you invest in something, you commit to it, you learn about who you are. You learn about the people around you, the communities, and what you're doing is, there's growth along the way. You may not see it at that moment.
Correct.
But you may see it a year from now, 2 days from now, 3 days from now, or what have you, and you start thinking like, oh, that's fascinating or interesting. I didn't know that. So for me,
you get to see what it's kind of like a blooming season. You get to see your work bloom.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's so many petals. I had a lady tell me this years ago. She was selling a house with me, and she had just lost her confidence. And I came in, and I was talking to her that day, and she called me, and she said, I used to be like a lion. I roared. She said, but over the years, for different reasons, things that she had went through, she was like picked apart. And she said she was like a flower. She said, but talking to you, she said, it's like you brought that flower back together for me to bloom. And now I have my roar back. And she said, now I'm going to soar. And I'm like, it's all about soaring. Soaring for your community, soaring for your family, soaring for yourself. And I tell people, awards are great. Titles are great. All the different things you accomplish. But I think you'll agree with this part. Don't focus on those things. Just do the work. Do the work, and those things come. The awards will come. People will acknowledge you for your hard work. They will. The promotions will come because they see your talents, and they see, okay, they're in this position and they're doing really well in this position, but they could be in this position and do even more for whatever institution, whatever organization, whatever business. And so I think the biggest thing is do the work. Do the work to make yourself feel good about yourself. At the same time, when you do for others, it helps you to stay humble. I think it helps you to stay humble, and it helps you to feel worthy, because you feel like, okay, my work is not in vain.
That's correct. And for me, what it helped me also is that the recognition that I won't be defined by others.
Yes.
That only I can define who I am and what my value is and what I contribute.
And I'll tell you this. So when I was researching you and going over different things, you talked about identity. And you said you struggled with identity at one time. Speak about identity. Finding your way. What would you tell anybody that their identity, how do you find your identity and your self-worth?
Well, I think it goes back to what I was talking about, not allowing us, or anyone, to define who you are in your identity. That you are the author of your own story. And that's the way we try to talk to students. You are the author of your own story.
Guys, this has been such an amazing time with Vice Chancellor Frank Quevas from Student Life at University of Tennessee. I've got to give you a part 2. Tune in next Friday.
Thanks for listening to Talkin' Tennessee with Yvonnca. Watch out for our weekly episodes from the First Family of Real Estate, and check us out on the web, www.yvoncasalesrealestate.com. See our videos on Yvonca's YouTube channel, or find us on Facebook under Yvonnca Landes, and Twitter @Yvonnca Landes. And don't forget to tell a friend about us. Until next time, Yvonnca signing off.